Yo, welcome back to Real Talk. I'm your host, again, AK, again, SKY. This show, I'ma talk about aliens, yo. Whole lot. We gotta start back in Mesopotamia in Iraq, ancient Iraq. Euphrates and Tigris River, right? That's Mesopotamia in Iraq, ancient Iraq, right? I bet. Then there's a thing called the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki and so forth came to the earth to mine all the gold. This is why there was a gold rush in America. This is why there's still gold and diamonds and so forth getting picked out of Africa, right? But this would also explain why we migrated from Asia in the first place to go to Africa. Because the earth is a plantation. Now, the United States government was digging down in the ground. Hold up, we can talk about the fact that S4 or what's called Area 51 or Groom Lake in the Nevada desert, or we could talk about Hangar 18 in Oklahoma, Patterson Air Force Base, which both house extraterrestrial biological entities or EBINs. Now, when the American government was digging and so forth to build a military base, they ran into an ancient alien base. Now, they went to a place called Serpo. It's a planet in the Zeta Reticuli galaxy. Now, when they came back to Earth, they hadn't denied the existence of it for years, and they leaked it eventually. Now, we could also talk about how in 1950 or so, in DC, there was what they call the Sky Ghost, which was when extraterrestrials traveled above the Washington Monument and, the Capitol Hill building, the Capitol Hill building and motherfucking the White House. Also, they also traveled to Virginia, and that's back in like 1950, that was first contact. Now, we could also talk about, well, as far as the American government is concerned, we could also talk about the Atlanteans and the Argonauts, because the Atlanteans, Plato, right, is a philosopher. Plato and so forth, his theory of Atlantis was multiple different islands the Atlanteans lived in. Antarctica was actually one land in freaking the Atlantic Ocean. That's why it's called the Atlantic Ocean, because of the Atlanteans. That being said, it was also linked to how the Atlanteans, when it sunk, they went into a place called Argotha. Atlantis, or we could talk about how they're going Antarctica at one point and so forth was shifty because of the tiny place of the Earth was called a constellation of drift. In other words, how all the Earth, whether it was the whole planet was motherfucking Pangea. This was meaning the whole Earth was a giant freaking jungle. Then the tectonic plate shifted, and that's why there's 7 oceans and 7 continents. Now, we can also talk about how the American government went to Atlantis, had a military explorer, General Byrd, that motherfucking was exploring about motherfucking extraterrestrials in motherfucking Agatha, which is in Atlantis. I mean, it's in Antarctica. Or we could even talk about Shangri-La or Middle Earth, which most people probably heard of Middle Earth before. You know what I'm saying? We also talk about why did they put CERN, you know what I'm saying, in as an underground facility to link with the philosophy of Shangri-La, because you have what's known as Shiva on the outside of the zone, which is the goddess of destruction. Which, because CERN and so forth is an intergalactical gateway, like a Stargate for the movie and shit. But that also means and so forth that people knew about extraterrestrial travel. This is why it's called ley lines, the magnetic pole of the planet, the North Pole and the Southern Pole of the Earth, the Earth's heartbeat, the magnetic polarity of the planet, which intersects through motherfucking Washington D.C. That means that the ancestors knew about this. The 12 focus points of energy. In other words, this Bermuda Triangle, right? Everybody's familiar with the Bermuda Triangle. There is 11 other places just like the Bermuda Triangle around the entire equator of the Earth. This is why there's so much extraterrestrial activity, and why there's so much missing vehicles and shit in them areas. Now, ain't the part about it, people don't know this shit, that Ronald Reagan, when he was president, he sat back and said he wanted to fucking put missiles in satellites because he witnessed the daggone extraterrestrial space vehicle. Now, this is also, when you think about the 12 military scientists, if you talk about after the supposed death of Adolf Hitler, because we don't know if Adolf Hitler, you know what I'm saying, died when they said he died or not, but because he still could be alive, well, he could be alive and so forth in a government laboratory. So that's why I said supposed. Yeah, we don't know that for sure. This is what the Army, the Air Force, Marines, Navy, Coast Guard, National Guard, the Air Force, Senate, Congress, and judicial system, and pretty much Department of Defense, Federal Bureau of Investigation, Central Investigating Agency, National Security Agency, Department of Intelligence Agency, try to hide, but somewhat like a minute. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Now, what about in Canada? The Prime Minister's Defense said back in 1950 something that there was what you call it, he knew for a fact that aliens ran the world. He said it out of his own mouth. Now, NASA has photographs of a daggone UFO that crash landed in Mars years ago. Now, we could also talk about how daggone the chupacabra, which is in Mexico and also in Texas, the chupacabra and so forth, is a supposed alien. There's photographs and video recordings of that type of shit as well. Now, wouldn't that mean and so forth that the government does not want to tell us that aliens exist because the earth is a plantation? Our ancestors knew that and proved it when they first talked about the Anakin in the first place. That's why they don't tell us that aliens exist. Anyway, it's been Real Talk. I'm your host, AKN SKY. Peace. Free the mind, free the people, yo.